24 hours to the lockdown, people try to do some last-minute shopping to stock up homes. Nigeria is taking this measure behind other high-risk nations where a lockdown has been declared in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The number of confirmed COVID-19 positive cases in Nigeria increases by the day. Markets and malls witness a high volume of consumers despite the social distancing measure already on ground.
To be on the safe side, because we don't know what will happen next, I had to be here today. Even if we are on lockdown finally, our belly cannot be on lockdown.
We normally have like 50 trucks, sometimes 70 trucks of tomato alone. But the number of people that need this tomato are much more than what we are even getting in the market. So people have to even wait for trucks to come in. If you see the way people are rushing to get tomatoes just because they are panicking, that probably the government will shut up the market, that's why people are just doing that.
The president's order is not taken with a pinch of salt. Deserted roads and streets lose their busy outlooks in the fight to lose the grip of COVID-19 on states worst hit, while other state governments follow suit.
So far, so good. My assessment is about 85% a success story. We've seen as well what I call deception in some areas where some persons try as much as possible to taxi drivers, let me say, try to load vehicles with having a journalist to come in among the passengers or health workers so that they can scale through. That we have also been stopping them. We have also seen as well some security men, not the kind of ones we have here that are on operation. Some who are just maybe the admin or accounting department who needs to rest with their ID card, sometimes going around town. That we have also been discouraging.
State governments take precautionary measures ranging from fumigation of motor parks, markets and some other major public places, signing of health regulations, shutting border entry routes, closure of public places, setting up of task force to sensitize residents, equipping infectious disease centers, distributing of personal protective equipment, among other measures.
The government hereby announces the shutting down of all land borders to ban movement to the state from elsewhere. The only exceptions to this rule are those stated in the address of Mr. President. Specifically, these are vehicles carrying agricultural produce, medical equipment, and official unessential duties related to COVID-19 campaign. All previous restrictions remain in force. A special warning here goes to commercial motorcycles or Okada who have been violating the shutdown orders. Any violators caught will face the full consequence of the law.
Government has now directed market and shops in the state to prepare close down. Effective from Thursday, 2nd April 2020 by 11 p.m., except those that provide essential services like pharmacists, food stores, petrol stations, and other essential services. Let me caution that these measures should not be allowed to cause panic buying or be used by shop owners to hoard or hike prices of goods and services.
All entry and exit routes to Plateau State will be closed down. No one will be allowed to come in or leave Plateau State for the next 2 weeks. As part of the enforcement of the gathering of not more than 50 people, especially during religious events, any group which disregards this directive will be shut down outrightly. If those gatherings of not more than 2 persons must hold, the organizers should adhere strictly to 2-meter distancing, provision of water and sanitizers at entrances of those worship places.
According to the president's broadcast, all national stadia, pilgrims' camps and other big facilities are to be converted to isolation centers. Onikan Stadium in Lagos is now converted to COVID-19 isolation center in readiness to tackle an unforeseen increase of cases. The government is not leaving anything to fate. Therefore, the fumigation of the tents.
What are the components?
Sodium hypochlorite. Sodium hypochlorite.
Sodium hypochlorite, as mentioned by the fumigator, is a compound that can be effectively used for water purification. It is used on a large scale for surface purification, bleaching, odor removal, and water disinfection, an agent to fight the virus on the surfaces. The Oniko Stadium Isolation Center has operational sections which include intensive care units, wards, pharmacy departments, doctors' quarters, and consulting rooms.
What we have gone around here to do is the formal collaboration and handover of the Lagos Island Isolation Center. This is a 110-bed isolation hospital facility that between Lagos State and the Guaranty Trust Bank have put up. It is, in our assessment, is a world-class facility, and this has been done within a week. As a government, we are very excited with the level of professionalism and the level at which details have been followed at putting up this facility. We are also very impressed with the speed at which all of the various contractors at multi-levels had worked tirelessly 24/7 round the clock to put this together. This is a reflection of the strong can-do spirit of Nigerians. We are going through a trying time globally. We're going through a time in which the level of the pandemic is unprecedented. So we cannot be over-prepared. In fact, the whole idea and the whole sentiment is you need to wrap up preparedness to over 200-300 level. So what we are doing here is we're building excess capacity in the event that we see a huge spike and it becomes something that we need to activate.
In cushioning the effect of the stay-at-home directive, as shopping malls and markets remain locked, the Lagos State government begins handing out stimulus packages to families. 5-kilogram bag of rice, gari, 3-kilogram bag of beans, packed pepper, water and a loaf of bread are all in the stimulus package for a family of 6. This is expected to be a daily handout.
The Lagos State government has made provision to assist the vulnerable and the less privileged in the society through the Ministry of Agric, Cooperative Society and Ministry of Agric, and they make provision for them to get rice, beans, gari and dry pepper, and that is what we are doing in this local government. This is Agbado Kyodo LCDA, and the community has shown their appreciation to Mr. Governor and his team in entirety. You can see they actually do the needful. The social distance is well observed here, and many of them are coming in one after the other to pick the bag of rice and the other things that is inside it. And we've been able to distribute to like 300-400 of them today, and the community are here, the CDA, the CDC, and the society, and the community at large. So that is what we're doing presently here at this local government.
The Lagos State government makes a further move by setting up temporary shopping points across the state. As buyers arrive, they must pass the temperature test and proceed to sanitize their hands. It's not the usually congested markets in the state, but a temporary shopping channel to suffice as the stay-at-home directive continues. The welcome gesture is filled with complaints.
Needed foodstuffs like yam and some other things, but they are not here. I needed fish also, but fish too is not here too. Please, we need more yams and then other food stuff here, please.
Well, it's all good. At least people saw things to buy. But we're expecting something bigger than this. Because this place is just like a very big town of its own. People really need things to buy. Like these women, some of them used to buy these tomatoes in baskets to store in their freezers. But when they came here, they just saw a little portion to buy, like 1,000. You understand? So they can do better than this next time.
Like a lot of things that we're supposed to buy, we not say it's here. Like yam, curry, and what again? We wanted to vegetable, ugu, water leaf. There is nothing. So we just gather here for nothing. I don't know how to next week will be. Maybe it's going to be better than today.
The commander of Sam Etnan Air Force Base, Ikeja, arrives, taking a tour of the makeshift stalls. He makes a demand responded to by the Commissioner of Agriculture in the state.
We are very appreciative to the Lagos State government for this gesture. It has afforded the base community, which is in excess of about 16,000 personnel and their families, the opportunity to come and buy food items, especially perishable goods, which we know normally have a period of about 2-3 days before they get spoiled. We expect that those who even stocked up their houses with tomatoes, onions and pepper in the past 3-4 days, those items would have already, if they didn't blend them, they must have already gone bad. So for this, we are very appreciative to the Lagos State government. This is like a litmus test. We hope that subsequently when they come, they will come out with more items. Maybe they underestimated the population. If you go around, you'll see that most of the items are even getting finished very fast, and the day is still half gone. So we hope that as the Lagos State government and through the Commissioner of Agriculture churns out this strategy of meeting us in our places of abode, a lot of these problems will be sorted out and the families will be happy with it.
We actually underestimated the population. All the same, we are happy with the turnout of the buyers, and our farmers will be, from the next edition, they will come out en masse. We are collaborating with all the necessary stakeholders that are in the value chain, the vegetable value chain, and we are also scaling the storage capacity of some of our wholesale market. For what we have today, we are supporting our farmers and the merchant with logistics. We give them logistics support to get to all the makeshift neighborhood markets.
According to the Commissioner, the temporary market will run twice a week at 26 locations across the state, with plans to increase the number of points as demands increase. The Food and Agriculture Organization has raised an alarm over food scarcity during the period of lockdown in nations affected by COVID-19. FAO is worried that developments may put a strain on the food supply chains involving farmers, agricultural inputs, processing plants, shipping, retailers, and more, even as the shipping industry is already experiencing a slowdown. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo presides over a meeting of the Economic Sustainability Committee set up by President Muhammadu Buhari. Part of the mandate of the committee is to find ways to implement strategies to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians at the period of lockdown, especially in Lagos, Ogun states, and the FCT.
Given the very dire economic circumstances brought upon us by the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, its implications are very clear for the economy. It has led to a downturn in practically every sector of the economy. Oil revenues have fallen precipitously. course, also domestic revenues have also fallen. So we're at a very critical and uncertain time in our economic history, and even in our history as a nation. And so what Mr. President has asked us to do is to devise a strategy in order to be able to keep the economy going, and also to make provisions to ensure that we're able to retain jobs and indeed even provide more jobs, and even develop the Nigerian economy in a way that would take advantage of the challenges of this time and convert those challenges to opportunities.
Due to COVID-19, oil prices are also collapsing every day, so we need to be on top of it and to brief Mr. President regularly. The discussions are still ongoing, so we can't really say where we are now. You know, it's a developing situation. We live here now, oil prices will be different from where we left it when we were outside. So we can't really say exactly what we are discussing now, because it's something where we need to be updating regularly.
It's not looking as easy as everybody thought it would be. The global economy, not naturally, like we all know at this time, will certainly suffer some very serious growth problems that may even lead to recession globally. So what we want to do is to see what can we do as a country to rescue our own situation, so we don't go the direction many will go. It's not going to be easy, but we can only just assure our people that we're on top of it and that we'll resolve it, and Nigerians will still be better for it.
At his daily briefing, the Minister of Health expresses worry over the daily increase in cases of COVID-19, blaming it on Nigerians who come in through the land borders.
More and more cases will be found, and the number of new confirmed cases of COVID-19 is expected to rise initially. We also worry about persons, especially Nigerians, returning to the country through land borders, who run a higher risk of infection if they are with an infected person in a confined space for a long time, like transit in a crowded bus or a car. Therefore, it is advisable that all travelers postpone non-essential travel, whether by air or by land, and whether national or international. In this regard, all Nigerians are advised to remain where they are resident and to stay safe and obey the rules and the laws that are provided, except if they are returning home from a previously arranged journey or from a business trip. National testing capacity has increased. Moreover, the lockdown in high burden states presents the advantage of reduced population mobility and leaves more people at home to be found during contact tracing. As I said, all this means that more people, more samples can be collected and can be tested more quickly, and the turnaround time is shorter, and it means that more cases will be discovered. With 71% of over presumed 6,000 more contacts now traced, the number confirmed may rise dramatically, but contact tracing will still be intensified to reduce the number of outstanding ones. We shall continue to expand isolation centers and prepare ICU units across the country for those who may have complications. We have also expanded bedding and intensive care space in Abuja, Gwagwalada, and have urged all states to do the same in their states, starting with tertiary hospitals.
In view of the shortage of protective equipment such as face masks and ventilators, the federal government is set to seek support of indigenous manufacturers.
In view of the prevailing global shortages of particular commodities like masks and protective gowns and even of ventilators, we are going to have conversations with the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment to look for indigenous producers, indigenous manufacturers to try and support the effort to find more facilities and commodities that we are going to be using for protection and personal protection equipment.
One area I'd like to talk on a little bit today is the work that we're doing from the federal government in supporting all the states in Nigeria. We currently have 15 rapid response teams supporting 15 states. It's the largest deployment of public health resources for an outbreak ever in our country. Unlike other outbreaks that are localized, even the Ebola outbreak was still Lagos and Port Harcourt. This time, every day we add a new state. Every single day we have to deploy a new team. It requires resources, people, logistics, efforts. This is a significant exercise, and we are assuring every state that we will continue to do everything necessary to support them to respond to these events that are unfolding in our country. We are building up on some investments that we have made over the last few years. Over the last few years, we've set up 22 public health emergency operation centers in the states. Our plan was to get it up to 37, so to cover every state plus FCT. Unfortunately, we were not quite there when this outbreak struck. But this will also give us energy to reinvigorate our efforts, because it is within those EOCs at the state level that the response comes together. That is where the federal, state, and everybody, not just the public health forces, but the immigration, our security agencies, everybody comes together within the context of an EOC every day to define the response, identify gaps, fix those gaps, define the next strategy, and keep improving on the response.
The Information Minister is concerned about the spike in fake news, which he says is negatively affecting the fight against COVID-19.
The spike in fake news is actually distracting our fight against COVID-19. And I think this is quite unhelpful. It's been trending on the social media that the equipment and aid that we receive from China, from Jack Ma, they've all been infected with the virus. This is not true. Also, I was quoted yesterday as having said that the PTF had distributed 5 billion naira to the most vulnerable people. That also is not correct. The whole idea of this daily briefing is to eliminate any disinformation or fake news, because here we give you the latest development on the fight against COVID-19.